I heard a quote like this that said, rigorous self-examination is the key to growth, obedience, and youthfulness. And I like that word youthfulness there because if you ain't growing, you dying. And a lot of people, you may be young in age, but you're dead when it comes to the growth in your life. Like you're just surviving right now. You're not thriving in life. You're not moving forward. You're just surviving. This is the voice. I don't know. Something about when you watch that show, you get one of these swivel chairs. You just got to do it. It's just a kid in me. I don't know. Story time. Reminds me of a story. I remember when I was a kid, I had one dream, one goal, one destiny, and I knew it was my destiny. And that was, I was going to be a rock star. I believed I had a vocal straight from the heavens. I used to get my mom, she had, those round hair brushes, right? I'd get this bad boy. I would stand in front of the mirror in our bathroom and I would sing my heart out. I was singing to a stadium of thousands, cheering voices. I'm like, I'm letting it rip, like singing it, man. I would write songs. I remember third grade, fourth grade, I would physically write songs, like lyrics. I didn't know how to play instruments, and I would just sing them, and it was just my dream. And then my dad brought home, which would be the tool that would get me to my destiny. He brought home a camcorder. And I mean, you know what I'm talking about. If you grew up in the 80s, you know what I'm talking about. He brought home with a bam! The camcorder you set up on your shoulder had the VHS tape in it. Some of y'all kids don't even know what a VHS tape is. You don't even know what it's like. Be kind, rewind, or you're going to pay a fee, right? Blockbuster Video. Bam! You would put this in. That's why dads had the big old biceps on one arm. Skinny arm, because you just had to carry these things. He brings home a camcorder. I'm about to record some of the most legendary things. When MTV does a behind the scenes of my history, they're going to have the VHS evidence of this. I set this thing up. I got the whole stage set up. I got my mic, testing 1 2, testing 1 2, and I let her rip. I just start singing. I'm getting into it. I got the moves. I'm singing it. I'm so excited. I run the VHS camcorder to the TV. I hook it up. That's how you played it. Hooked it up. Bam. Press play. And I'm like, huh? My dad got a broken camcorder. There ain't no way that voice that I'm hearing through the TV is this voice right here that I've been hearing myself my whole life. I sounded busted, bad, couldn't hit a pitch, nastiest thing you ever heard. But for some reason, in my mind, I thought I was golden tonsils, platinum even. Why? Because I didn't see it from the outside. I didn't have the right examination. That's what we're going to talk about today, episode 2. We're going to talk about check yourself. You got to examine yourself. Listen to me. Last week we talked about not comparing yourself to others. That's a big deal. If you missed that episode, listen, don't start this one until you go look at it. Go check that episode out. Awesome. This week I'm going to talk about, though, now we got to start looking on the inside. I heard a quote like this that said, rigorous self-examination is the key to growth, obedience, and youthfulness. And I like that word youthfulness there because if you ain't growing, you dying. And a lot of people, you may be young in age, but you're dead when it comes to the growth in your life. Like you're just surviving right now. You're not thriving in life. You're not moving forward. You're just surviving. Like you feel like in your life, it's just get through this week until the weekend, right? Like weeks bleed into months, into years. It's just an existence. You've got to learn the art of examining yourself. Like we got to get to the point where we look at our lives every day and maybe multiple times a day. And you need to start asking yourself questions that are really tough. Like questions like, what is it about me that's keeping me from being who I'm created to be? Or maybe a better way to word it is, what is it about me that's keeping me from being who God created me to be? Because there might be some behaviors or attitudes or actions or environments that you're putting yourself into that's robbing you of where you're supposed to go. And there is a real evaluation you got to do in your life. I'm going to get pastory on you because that's what I am. I'm a pastor. But Paul says this exactly in 2 Corinthians. He actually says in 2 Corinthians chapter 13, pull up on the phone, verse 5, examine yourself to see if your faith is genuine. Test yourself. Surely you know that Jesus Christ is among you. If not, you have failed the test of genuine faith. You see that? Examine. Make sure what you are is true. Be authentic. Test yourself. Check yourself. You got to get the art of understanding this in your life. This is what you got to get in your spirit. And you got to learn this. And very few people have learned the art of gathering and understanding the ability to look at themselves and check themselves. I heard it best example like this. You could go 3 weeks and never brush your teeth. Your breath could be so stanky. I mean like atrocious even. And your breath, think about this, your nose is inches from your mouth. And yet you could never ever tell on your own your breath was stinking. The whole room. You could light up a room with your breath. Everybody else in the room knows. Dude got halitosis going on. You wouldn't even know it yourself. And you're inches away from the very thing that could detect what smells good and what doesn't. Unless, what do? You in 2020, 2021, and we got these things called masks. Bam, how many people know you be breathing this in all day? You go, I didn't know I've been punishing people my whole life with this kind of breath. You didn't realize how bad your breath smelled until you started wearing a mask, until you started redirecting it back at you. Listen to me. You're not going to know the things in your life that's keeping you from who you're supposed to be unless you start redirecting some things back at you. You're not going to know what's keeping you from what God's called and created to be unless you start redirecting the things back at you. So what you got to learn to do is get honest with yourself on a daily examination. Now that question I gave you, what's keeping me from being who I'm supposed to be? That's kind of a broad question. I like to kind of break it down a little bit more detail. And so what I do is I actually ask myself most days, almost every day, or I reflect on this, very specific questions. These are my questions. They're not necessarily your questions. You can use them if you like, but I kind of ask myself several questions. I'll ask myself this: how affirming was I? How affirming was I? Did I celebrate people? Was I affectionate towards people? Right? As a leader, that's important. As a father, that's important. As a husband, that's important, right? Because if I'm not an affirming person, I'm hurting people around me, right? I'll also ask myself, how was my mood, right? Was I in a good mood? Was I in a bad mood? And I start rating these like 0 to 10, right? That's kind of the way I do this. I'll go into it like, how much did my emotions lead me? I'll ask myself that question, like, okay, was I really emotional that day? Did they lead me into a negative space? Was I frustrated all day? Was I real passive that day? Was I very excited and joyful that day? Those are good things, right? I'm rating myself. I'll say, how distracted was I? Right? Like, how distracted was I, right? Was I on my phone all day, or was I just going around talking to people all day? But we weren't really talking about anything, but just kind of like I was just distracted all day, right? On the internet surfing or what? I just could never get focused. Or how much time did I spend with my family? Right? Like, I go through my whole day and I accomplish a lot, but I accomplish nothing with my children. Accomplish nothing with my wife. Okay, that's probably the issue. And then I'll ask, how much did I accomplish in my daily goals? You know, like I have objectives I want to accomplish that day. How much of those did I accomplish? I'm reflecting on the day that just happened. I'll say things like, how was my diet? How much did I read? Did I work out? Right? I'm asking myself questions. And then I'll ask myself a really important question. Did I add value to others and my organization? That's my final question. Because I want to make sure what I did in that day added value to the people on my team, added value to my family, but also move the ball forward for the organization. And I'll go through and I write 0 to 10, right? I'll rank these. And I kind of keep a little log so I can kind of look at the week and say, okay, whoa, Mike, you were really bad with your diet this week, or you were really bad with being distracted, or you are not affirming at all, or you are moody. Like, what was up? What I'm doing is I'm trying to take a stock of checking myself. I'm redirecting it back at me. And then what I do is I break down the details. Now that I look at myself and I go, okay, why was I distracted, right? Why was I distracted? Was I not passionate about what I was working on? Was I getting really procrastinating? Did I keep this thing too close to me the whole time that was now causing me to always focus on it and not, do I need to move this away? Why didn't I spend time with my family? What was I doing that kept me away from my family? Why was I moody? What's going on, right? Do I need to talk to my therapist about it? What's going on? So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to find, remember that question and we said at the very, very beginning, what is it a part of myself that's keeping me from who I'm creating? I'm trying to identify the key factors that are keeping me from it. I'm checking myself. And then the last thing what I do, and I kind of briefly mentioned this, I bring in accountability. I bring in my therapist, I bring in my coaches, I bring in my mentors, and I start talking in an authentic, honest way with people. Because what I'm trying to do is understand who I was yesterday doesn't necessarily have to keep me from who I need to be today. Sometimes you might have a bad day yesterday. Sometimes you might have had a bad month. You may have had a bad year, but guess what? You can start working towards health now, but you gotta be honest with yourself, evaluate yourself so that you know where to start moving the ball forward. Because if you just stay at a 30,000 foot view, you'll never get the details you need to understand what is those actual key factors that are keeping you backwards. All right, so let's kind of review what you want to do. Start making out some questions you think are important that's going to keep you accountable. Do it on a consistent basis. Break down the details of why you may not be healthy in those areas, and then bring in some accountability. Get a therapist, get a mentor, get a coach, get someone that can speak into your life and encourage you to move forward. Guys, I love you. I hope these are helping you. If they are, please subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit the notification bell to make sure that you are never missing an episode, or subscribe to us on any of the podcast platforms. Let's never miss a time together so we can grow together, right? Because we are going to cultivate our souls, because that's going to cultivate our churches. We're going to cultivate our souls so we can cultivate ourselves as leaders. We're going to grow together. Love you guys. Pray God's peace.